Today I'm going to talk about the 7 people that you need to hire for your dev team. Hi, I'm Ryan Hayden. I'm one of the founders of Build Online. We plan, design, and build custom software and custom apps for businesses and entrepreneurs. I'm on a mission to help business people understand the world of software development, and I make these videos every week. Okay, so you want to make an app. You have some idea for custom software, whether that's custom software for your business or some app that you want to release for consumers or other businesses to use. Who do you need on your team to make it happen? Well, you might immediately think, duh, Ryan, I need to hire developers. You're so smart. Why are you even watching this video? No, of course you need to hire developers, but you need to know what kind of developers, and you'll likely need more than one type of developer, and also you can't just hire developers, you'll need to hire a few very important people to support those developers too. So let's start with developers. The first type of person that you're going to want to hire is a backend developer. A backend developer. Backend developers specialize in writing code that runs on a server. Now, no matter what kind of app you're going to make, whether it's a mobile app or a web app or even a game, you will most likely need some kind of server. You're going to need a database, and you're going to need code that interacts with that database. You'll need a place to store photos and other files. Backend devs are the ones that write this kind of code. You can think of them as the foundation of your dev team. Of course, before you hire a backend developer, you're going to want to pick a backend development stack. You're going to want to pick a development framework so that future backend developers that you hire will be able to jump in and work quickly. And I'll be making some videos about that in the future. Okay, so you've got a backend dev. What other kinds of devs do you need? The second type of developer you want to hire is a front-end developer. I know, big surprise, back-end, front-end. Back-end developers specialize in writing code that runs on the server. Front-end developers specialize in writing code that runs in a web browser. They're the guys that can take a design from a program like Photoshop or Figma and turn it into actual code that runs in Google Chrome or Safari. Good front-end developers have to know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. They probably use a front-end framework like React, Vue, or Svelte. That's another decision you'll need to make before hiring. They also need to know how to make their code responsive so that it works on different screen sizes and accessible so people with disabilities can use it. Now, most of the time, good front-end developers have a different personality and a different background than good back-end developers. But it's pretty common to find someone that's good at both, and these devs like to call themselves full-stack developers. Okay, so you have front-end devs and back-end devs. Who else do you hire? Well, there's a third type of dev that's very important, and that is a mobile developer. If you want to have an app that runs in the App Store on either iOS or Android, and most apps do these days, then you'll need to hire a mobile developer or maybe even a bunch of mobile developers. Mobile developers are like front-end devs, but instead of writing code for a browser, they write code that runs natively on phones and tablets. The problem with mobile developers is that Android development is very different than iOS development. They're two totally different programming languages and systems. So you either have to use a cross-platform framework like React Native or Flutter, or hire different Android devs and iOS devs. Okay, so at this point you have a small army of developers. You've got front-end, back-end, Android, iOS. Are you done yet? No, we're less than halfway there. The fourth kind of developer you're eventually going to want on your team is a DevOps Specialist. DevOps developers are the guys who set up and monitor the infrastructure that your app runs on. They set up servers or cloud servers, email servers, database servers, and they help make sure that you have maximum uptime, security, and scalability. Now, the good news is that with the advent of cloud computing tools like Amazon AWS or Microsoft Azure, or smaller platforms we like DigitalOcean or Linode, you don't have to have a full warehouse full of servers anymore. But these tools are still very complicated, and they still take knowledgeable people to set them up and make sure they're running correctly. You can probably get by without one of these guys at first, but eventually as your app grows, you'll need one or more of these specialists on your team. Let's get into the non-dev players that you're going to need to make your development team work. In addition to developers, you're going to need to have designers. And just like there's different types of developers, there's different types of designers. You're going to need to have a UX designer. UX stands for user experience. And user experience designers are really good at going from concept to concrete idea. They usually work in the realm of ideas, and they help transfer those ideas into wireframes and user stories so that other designers and later developers know what to do. Now, it's tempting to skip this step, but a good UX designer and good UX design processes will save you tons of development time, which means money, and greatly improve your application. You're also going to need a UI designer. A UI designer, user interface designer, takes the wireframes and the user stories created by the UX designer and turns them into pixel-perfect prototypes that look amazing and match your branding. They make these prototypes in apps like Figma or Adobe XD, and then those prototypes are used as a bridge or a guide for the front-end or mobile developers. UX designers and UI designers can sometimes be the same people. UX designers tend to focus on concepts, and UI designers tend to focus on visuals. They're both important, but sometimes they require different interests and personalities. The good news is that you usually need less designers than you need developers. For instance, we have over a dozen developers on our team and only 3 designers. But when you need a designer, you really need a designer. You don't want them to be a bottleneck. Okay, so you have different types of developers, you have DevOps, you have designers. Is your team complete? No. You still need one very important player on your team, and that is the project manager. Project managers make sure that the work is being done. They make sure that everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing, that they're doing it in the right order, that there are no questions, that there are no bottlenecks. Project managers manage the backlog of work that everyone on the team is doing, and they communicate it to the stakeholders. They have to be extremely well organized and get along with everyone on the team, and they have to have a big picture overview of the whole project. You can kind of think of them like a general contractor on a construction site. So let's review. If you want to build an app, you need to hire people to fill all of these roles. Backend developer, front-end developer, mobile developer, DevOps, UX designer, UI designer, and project manager. Now let me wrap this up by saying 2 things. First, obviously hiring a team like this is very expensive. In the US where I live, each of those 7 people could require a 6-figure salary plus benefits. So if you just had one of each, one of those 7 people each, you could be looking at $1 million a year just to keep this team working on your project. That's one of the reasons why it makes a ton of sense to hire an agency like Build Online to build out your project. We already have a very good team of all these different types of devs and designers. You don't need to train us. You don't need to pay us the benefits. We are very easy to hire and we're very easy to fire. It's really a no-brainer. You should check us out at buildonline.io. Second, if you're interested in doing a software project, I've created a free course just for you at softwarecrashcourse.com that will teach you the basics that you should know before you get started in 7 short lessons. So go over to softwarecrashcourse.com and sign up today. It's totally free. And I'll see you in the next video.